Thank you very much for joining this webinar. I'll take you through a top-line business presentation, business summary of the EMIXIT business, where we are and where we would like to be. First of all, we're aiming to be the Amazon business of British food and drink in Europe. Basically, Amazon, as you know, is a B2C site predominantly, but they also have a B2B offering as well. And just information from today was that they posted results which were 43% ahead of last year for the first quarter, and profits actually double what was expected by the market. So Amazon is absolutely growing phenomenally, and Jeff Bezos is now the richest man in the world. So that's a good start. What we are looking to do, we're looking to launch in 6 countries in the first year, which is 2018. We've already launched in Poland, and we're looking to roll out into the other 5 countries. Initially with an offer of ambient, frozen and alcohol products. Towards the end of next year to add on a further 7 countries in the region, Central and Eastern Europe predominantly, and also add chilled. And by the end of 2020, a further 7 countries, and thereafter expand until we basically cover the whole of the EU. Our proposition really as an e-wholesaler for buyers is the importing of mixed pallets of products that differentiate at the click of a button. So absolute simplicity as a one-stop shop. But for suppliers as well, it's also simplicity. So lower cost option for exporting to new markets in Europe. The problems generally for buyers, and that's across this region and not only, is that they are looking to differentiate their product range, but they generally don't have much time to source new products. They are unaware of the British offer. You know, United Kingdom hasn't been very good at promoting its food and drink offer in export markets. The other challenges really are import barriers. So it's setting up foreign supply accounts with lots of different suppliers, minimum order quantities, language, labeling, transport. So these are the general barriers to importing. And also limited marketing budgets. Now, obviously, when it comes to importing, the traditional route has been through distributors, and distributors in local markets provide these services for end buyers, being it retail end buyers, food service end buyers. But generally, marketing budgets are always limited because it's done on a per supplier basis. So to support the sale of new products in retail or food service is then a real challenge because there aren't the marketing budgets to do that for individual suppliers. Suppliers, on the other hand, have problems in terms of accessing new markets, the high cost of doing it, also the challenges of finding and managing foreign distributors, good foreign distributors, also minimum order quantities, and the limited marketing budgets. And the limited marketing budgets is a fairly key point, which will actually be throughout this presentation, and how we overcome that. So the solution that we're presenting is a user-friendly online marketplace, e-market in local languages, offering food and drink products that differentiate. So products that we have on the platform, we have already screened in terms of the potential that we believe they have in sales for buyers. Generally, they're products that aren't actually available in these markets. We've reduced the risk in terms of ordering, so there's a lower risk in terms of the minimum order quantity, which is a layer of a pallet product per SKU, which then also allows for lower cost in terms of consolidation from our side. And the consolidation is not only the one-stop shop in terms of products, delivery, transport, but also consolidation of marketing budgets. Because we have such a broad range of products and suppliers on our platform, means we can then, with bigger players, actually consolidate marketing budgets and run promotions on a bigger scale, which is exactly what we've done in the past with British exporters. And the solution for suppliers is also the one-stop shop solution. Basically, it's very simple now to access foreign markets with reduced time and cost, also being part of consolidated marketing budgets, which is very important when supporting British products which are unknown in the market, and therefore which give real opportunities for volume growth. The product itself, I'm not going to be showing the platform here as we speak, because online the experience has been that it's better just to do a presentation. If we start going into various other things online, it's difficult to know how well you're seeing all of that. But anyway, you can actually see the platform yourselves. Basically, it is a user-friendly e-commerce platform. It is the feedback that we've been getting from all sorts of meetings, particularly at the launch we had recently, and the fact that it's in local languages is a huge plus factor. We've got products from suppliers that differentiate. You can actually see the different products. 3 main groups as we have at the moment, and the platform is integrated with warehouses in the UK that we work with. We have 2 main partners. One is Oakland International for dry and frozen products, and the other one is Law Distribution for alcohol, which is a bonded warehouse. So we have daily stock reports that then come in from our warehouses that we upload into the system. Going back a bit as to why we've done it and sort of experience over the last few years, I ran a self-funded food team, so to speak, within the British Polish Chamber of Commerce as a delivery partner for Department of International Trade, so helping British exporters get into the market. Over a period of 4 years, we worked with about 70 different exporters, helping them through different channels. And the traditional channels really have been distributors, working through traditional distribution networks in the markets. Our experience has been, though, that not always, it wasn't easy to find good distributors. We ran promotions, retail promotions, where in various instances we actually managed to list products directly onto the shelf, where we managed the whole process with the buyer in terms of organizing the over-labeling, organizing the transport, etc. So we, in essence, ran promotions on a big scale, British Days, British Isles, etc. And we noticed that there was a real opportunity of actually then providing a solution following on from these promotions to continue delivering that product directly ourselves. And that's where, really this concept was born, that we had feedback saying that, well, if there was a solution in place, then various buyers would be interested in buying from us, obviously if the prices are competitive in the marketplace. Running the promotions that we did, generally, these were pretty big scale, because running a promotion where we had 20 suppliers simultaneously that we introduced into a promotion, you're looking at in excess of £200,000 turnover generally for one promotion. The success rate afterwards of new suppliers that we introduced was in the region of 80% in terms of getting continuous listings. So we've worked a lot with British exporters in the marketplace, which then started extending a little bit across CEE, Central and Eastern Europe. But the biggest sort of value that we generated was for Agricultural and Horticultural Development Board, AHDB. And I represent them in Poland and in Central and Eastern Europe. And we took, and this was really lamb, we took lamb in Poland in 2014 from, I think it was £400,000 to around 6 million last year. And this was, in fact, working with the brand, working with the suppliers, working directly with retail in the market. And the role as AHDB is actually marketing and promotion. That is, in fact, what we do. So we've got a lot of experience in running promotions and know what we can get out of them in terms of effect, and particularly in sales. So that's been the sort of background, and I had this role up until last year when it comes to British Polish Chamber, and then since then, continuing with Agriculture and Horticultural Development Board. So with EMIXIT, the timeline with EMIXIT is we registered the company last year, and it's been since about April, May, development of the platform. We've been signing up suppliers on an ongoing basis in all the different categories, and each supplier has been required to pay a listing fee, which allowed us to upload all their content, all their images, and translate their products into the relevant languages. We've also appointed a market coordinator in the countries. Now, the market coordinator role is something I'll come to, because it is something that we are still developing in terms of the support in market. So we have people and companies that we are working with in terms of delivery of that service within the marketplace, but I'll come back to that a little bit later. So the platform has been translated into 6 languages, and so have all the products and ingredients. So all the information that is required to go into an over-label when we label a product for a given country has been translated and is ready to be applied as orders come in. So we already, before launch, we raised about £65,000 in terms of basically the listings on the platform. We did a soft launch in Poland, and the soft launch was at World Food Warsaw trade show, business-to-business trade show. Here are various images of our stand and all the products. So we showcased over 200 products from our platform. It was really the largest presentation of UK products at a trade fair in Poland. So nobody's actually had that many products on one stand, representing so many different suppliers. From our meetings during the show, we had broad interest from distributors, from wholesalers, from small and major multiple retailers, HoReCa, which really is the hotel and restaurant sector as well. So a lot of interest, some people registered on the platform, but the key thing was just to present that we are here, our offer, and now the follow-up. Also, very interestingly, there was feedback from other markets. There were buyers from other markets like Baltic states, some of the Stan's former Soviet republics, Azerbaijan, Kazakhstan, etc. Funny enough, Nigeria, and even the States. So when it comes to launching in Central and Eastern Europe, we see that already there are opportunities to work with potential buyers, possibly further east. Anything beyond the EU, we'll be very careful in terms of how we approach that, and we know that everything will have to be absolutely 100% paid up front. But what we're doing now, we're doing all the follow-up, and also with a direct marketing campaign, together with telesales, where we'll be driving registrations on the platform and then orders as well. So the idea is to take potential buyers through the whole process and the offer, so they can actually build pallets that we can price for them and take it through an order process. Our focus really will be on low-hanging fruit as quickly as possible, so we can get traction and aim to get some sales still in May. In terms of the macro opportunity, the broader opportunity, if we look at branded UK food and drink, if you have a look at the chart on the left, okay, Ireland obviously is the biggest importer of British food and drink. Germany is second, but Poland is 7th out of worldwide exports of branded food and drink. So really, Europe and Central and Eastern Europe, there's a huge amount of potential for growth. You can actually see this figure. This was from 2016, Food and Drink Federation, that there's an increase of 42% year on year in export sales to Poland. So there is massive potential, and there's a lot to do. On the right, we have a chart that shows how the UK fares in terms of trade within Europe between countries. And trading between countries, um, judging or bearing in mind the size of the UK, it really does rank quite low. I mean, if you see how far it is behind Belgium, for example, or even Poland, you've got the key markets here, Germany and sort of France in the top three, and UK is quite far behind. Unfortunately, it hasn't been supported by Department of International Trade from the UK. They don't really support food and drink exports in any tangible way, which is a real shame. Maybe it'll change, but we don't really know. I have a feeling that we just have to do things ourselves and not wait for any support from the government. When it comes to Central and Eastern Europe, the estimated value based on the figures we have from Food and Drink Federation, the EU is around £2.2 billion in branded food and drink exports, and Central and Eastern Europe around 800 million from that. But here, the growth figures are just staggering. I mean, Poland 43% as mentioned, but Latvia, okay, from a small base, at 160%, Romania 48%. So you can see this region is growing very quickly, largely because British products haven't been that available in these markets, but also as the economies are all growing, disposable income is rising, so are imports by these countries. And from a report from IGD, they estimate that Central and Eastern Europe retail sales will be 3 times faster in Central and Eastern Europe than in Western Europe over the next 5 years. So really, this region is the focus when it comes to British food and drink exports, we believe, and this is where we need to actually focus on and get it right over the next 2 to 3 years. Our general target is something that we've set for ourselves as EMIXIT, an wholesale platform, is to generate about £22 million turnover within 6 years. That we believe is absolutely doable based on our model and the potential that we see. In terms of the target market, we have contact with some of the major players in the region. This is from having run some promotions, from presenting our offer to some of these markets before. So you've got the Tesco's, Rivers, etc. Obviously, these are big players, not easy to deal with, but they are also interested in expanding their British offer. For example, Auchan in Poland, who imports directly, we already have developing a plan with them where we'll be presenting, first of all, the whole offer that we have on the platform to all their buyers, with the objective of setting a timing plan for British Days promotion. So that is on the cards as we speak. We'll be looking at doing that with Tesco in Rewe and Edeka. In Germany, there were already British Days promotions, so they have been doing it. Now, the next thing is for us to be part of that. But offering mixed pallets and having the minimum order quantity at a layer of a pallet per product means we can reach a much broader base of customers looking to differentiate their offers. And these are distributors, importers in these markets, wholesalers. There are lots of different retailers, small, large. And we estimate that it's around 3,000 accounts. It's probably more, but 3,000 accounts that we will be able to reach in terms of what we propose. In other words, customers that can potentially purchase from us. We don't aim to go to a level of supplying each individual store. We're looking at getting to a level where if somebody's got a chain of 5, 6, 8, 10 stores, they are in a position to buy from us because they can make up mixed pallets and divide them, distribute them amongst their stores. Our whole objective through this is then to take customers that we work with and trade up to full pallets. And then with full pallets, we can buy full pallets directly from our suppliers, which means we can then give volume discounts, and those will generally be with larger customers. And the key thing with all of this is then supported by in-store or on-premise promotions. That will be with the bigger players. Taking our marketing strategy down into greater detail, first of all, we're building up databases of these potential customers. Some of it will be via database. Most of the contacts in terms of numbers will be via online advertising campaigns. But our marketing objectives, the primary is to drive targeted user traffic to the website through whatever we do. And the secondary is to take them through the platform to generate price requests. In other words, to build pallets with products that interest them and generate price requests and orders. Now, we know that in some instances we're going to have to do it with them, and in other instances maybe even do it on their behalf, because we know that buyers are lazy, and in some instances, in many instances, what they may require, and this is the bigger players, they just want a price list, which is fine, we can provide that, but we'll actually help them and show the product offering via the website. The communication strategy needs to be highly integrated. One of the routes is presentations and showing product samples during trade shows, as we just did during World Food Warsaw. Arranging buyer meetings, that's face-to-face meetings, which we'll be doing with all the key accounts. And not only the key accounts in terms of end buyers, but also wholesalers, distributors, specialist importers, etc. They all require face-to-face meetings. And from a direct marketing point of view, it's generating the traffic to the site, it's following up with telesales, personalized mailings, and out of that also generating meetings with the potential bigger players. That we have to do in every market as we kick off, because that's the only way we're going to get traction in those markets. And the idea is, following on from that, online marketing, which is then an ongoing process of display advertising, running display advertising campaigns on platforms that these buyers visit, with constantly presenting new things. We can then have themed communication around certain categories. We can promote, or we can communicate promotions that we run on our platform, special offers, etc. So that'll be an ongoing process. With a marketing coordinator, this is a role that we've identified for each market, local language person or company that we outsource to, that oversees customer relations and sales. Now, overseeing customer relations is one aspect in terms of customers visiting the platform and helping them through the process, seeing who's buying what and what they aren't buying, and helping them trade up, etc. And the other aspect of a market coordinator role are also promotions. Now, we don't actually see necessarily that one partner or organization will actually have the competencies to do all of that. For example, in Poland, we've appointed partner IQFM, who are specialists in shopper marketing, merchandising, in-store marketing and merchandising, running in-store promotions. And with them, we have already worked with them very successfully and will be looking to do major promotions with them. It could be that we extend the market coordinator role within that frame as well, or it could be we have something else that we work with. That is actually going to come out in the wash as we speak. And the idea is on that, the model that we test in Poland will actually take that forward into the other markets as well. And that's where we see the key growth opportunity in running those promotions. So what we're doing is, at the moment, we're testing the launch plan in Poland, during these months in terms of the marketing side, testing exactly what works, what doesn't, how best we go about it, so we can actually literally take that into the other markets as we roll out into the rest of the region. And that we're looking to do with funding that we're looking to raise from Crowdcube to then develop the marketing campaigns and everything in those markets and do this on a scale. The revenue model, firstly, suppliers that join our platform pay the one-off registration fee. And the way we're working with everyone is that all the companies deliver stock on consignment to UK warehouses. As I mentioned, we've got one warehouse at the moment for frozen and dried products, and the other one for alcohol. We visited these two warehouses this week, and we just saw how everything is operating. Practically all the consignment stock is in place, so we are ready to be driving orders, and particularly mixed pallet orders, because all of the business in the beginning will really be in mixed pallets. Very few buyers are going to be buying full pallets of products that they don't know. So the whole model that we've developed is with this consignment stock that as orders come into the warehouses, we can make up mixed pallets and literally ship them, turn them around very quickly and ship them door to door to customers. So we quote on all potential orders. A buyer selects products, requests prices, and our price quotation includes the ex-works cost of products, warehousing, storage and fulfillment, also a commission for our market coordinator. Labeling and transport is something on top as required, because there are buyers that will want to use their own labeling service or transport. The labeling is actually an over-label in the local language with ingredients and nutritional values required by EU law. It'll still be required by EU law even when the UK is outside of that. So we'll be prepared to just continue doing what we're doing. And of course, the EMIXIT margin. Buyers place orders, pay fully, part of fully in advance. We're looking at really full payment for all first orders. Although already in a discussion with Auchan, we know that with players like that, we have our terms, they have their terms. And well, let's hope we can meet somewhere in the middle. But as you all know, trading with the big retailers, unfortunately, it's quite often on their terms. But we'll have to see what their terms are. We've already traded with Auchan in the past, so we know what to expect. Once an order is confirmed and part or fully paid up front, at that stage we release a purchase order to our warehouse partners for fulfillment, and at that stage we take title of goods for ambient and frozen. For alcohol, we're not licensed to own the product, so it's literally an agency role, but we're receiving payment on behalf of our suppliers and then paying them, so that's the role, but it's in essence the same for everybody. So we pay suppliers upon receipt of payment from the buyer. So it's a cash flow positive model in terms of trade, apart from having to pay obviously warehouse storage and fulfillment on an ongoing basis. Our margins, the trade margin is around 20% depending on the product group, which is in line with general margins for this service charged by distributors. We'll probably be a bit keener than distributors in most areas. We're also in a position to reduce margins when we work with distributors to allow their margin to fit in as well, and based also on volume discounts, because at that stage we should be working on bigger volumes as well. So we're flexible in terms of who we work with in the marketplace. End buyers, be it retail or food service, in other words, be it restaurant chains or hotel chains, we will have a higher margin than for wholesalers and distributors. So we'll be managing the end price points in the marketplace. Gross margin around 12%. This is obviously extrapolating it to 2021. A net margin around 9% or just under 9%, which in terms of this sort of business is an attractive margin. We have got lower overheads running an e-commerce business compared with traditional bricks and mortar international wholesalers, so it allows us to have slightly better margins. The key assumptions on the right: average supply registration has been around £1,800. The average value per pallet across all categories or product groups, that's ambient, alcohol and frozen, is estimated around that. We based our financial model of 1 pallet per order. That's literally just for simplicity's sake. We know that, once we start ramping up, customers are not going to be buying only one pallet. Mixed pallets via UK warehouses. Full pallets, once we get to full pallets, we can take them directly from suppliers. Therefore, we reduce costs in terms of warehouse storage and fulfillment. So we can offer keener prices as well to buyers. Then the commission for the market coordinator role. Labeling and transport is optional, as mentioned, and then we're starting off with 6 countries and then adding 7 countries in the last quarter of every year going forward. So literally last quarter of next year and then subsequently 7 countries, etc. I hope everything is visible and audible. It's not always that easy to know whether you're actually hearing and seeing everything, but I can see that there aren't any messages on the chat saying that to the contrary, so I'll just continue. So in terms of financials, this is obviously just top line. We can provide detailed financials on request via the crowdfunding platform. We're ramping up the turnover, and all of this is based on us getting the funding. So the funding requirement is around £150,000 plus £50,000 working capital. So we've got a minimum funding requirement of £200,000, and on that basis, this is what we're looking to deliver. In the first year, around 600,000, and then ramping up to over 4 million. And I know when I've been presenting these figures, feedback I've got is that's actually a really high ramp up, sort of going from one year to the next. And it is, but based on at that stage, we would have already expanded across the region into 6 markets. We'll have regular customers, and we should by then also be running promotions in every single market on a scale. And bearing in mind, one promotion with one major retailer is at least £200,000 in turnover. So we believe that's absolutely doable. It's, obviously getting it right in terms of those channels and also the retail and promotional support. The promotions are something that the retailers love anyway, because if we can actually support on some sort of scale products that we actually list on their shelves, that's really what they're looking for. And having run them before, we know that it's a very good package for everyone concerned. So just looking through these figures, top line, I'm not going to go through the details at the moment. This is how it ramps up. In 2019, we add on another 7 markets, which start delivering really the following year, and then last quarter of 2020, a further 7 markets, and so on. This doesn't take into account other markets that we could be supplying at the same time, be it other Eastern European markets where we already have interest. So the idea is that that should actually complement all of this and hopefully add to these figures. But we believe that these figures are then absolutely achievable based on the growth in terms of the markets, the penetration, and other countries that come on board that actually aren't in the sort of original kind of EU plan. In terms of the competition, our direct competitors are UK and international wholesalers and consolidators. Here's some of the biggest players. These are companies that have turnover of 25, 30, 50 million pounds plus. So they've been doing it for a good number of years. Generally, they have thousands of SKUs. So it's mainstream British brands. They supply a lot through local distributors internationally, and they focus worldwide. They do generally focus less on this region, and through some of the challenges of having, a wholesale price, adding a distributor margin, trying to make it work. And also the fact that, in the end, you actually do have to support these suppliers in these markets anyway, and they're not really geared up for that. So they're used to high volumes, shipped to sort of all over the world, container loads. In a similar vein are export management companies like Tudor Rose International that we know, Christie International, who ironically have brands on our platform, Fresh Marketing, etc. So they represent brands, specific brands that they work with worldwide as well, and also not really doing much in this region. So their focus is worldwide, less so in Europe, and for similar reasons as we have with the international wholesalers consolidators. Other competitors, although these are companies that we also work with, are local importers and distributors. They're only competitors if we actually deliver direct in certain retail or food service channels. And the way we'll be working in every market is which is the best route to market. If it actually is via an importer distributor, and particularly with alcohol, we have to work with licensed importers anyway. So there isn't an alternative. So our model has to be with the best licensed importers for that category, for that range, for that customer base. In other instances, it'll be us working directly in some channels and working with partners in others. So the markets are fragmented anyway, and there's no distributor that actually can hand on heart say they cover the entire market and therefore exclusivity for the entire country. And we'll be working with the ones that are best for the right reasons. Us as then the last point here, UK International e-wholesaler. Well, first of all, we're the only ones who have actually got an e-commerce platform. That is the first major differentiator because none of them actually sell products via an e-commerce platform. The other thing is we work with stock on consignment, so it's sort of on a just-in-time basis as much as possible. It allows us to manage costs better, lower costs. We also then combine promotional budgets, which is a key factor, as I mentioned, and that is an absolute differentiator against all the competition, then supported with a local market coordinator role. So just the summary of those unique characteristics: cash flow positive in terms of stock, differentiated product range, supply to end buyers at competitive prices, and as I mentioned, we are competitive against the general channels, and it allows us to also work with the distributor model as well. Integrated and localized marketing, and that actually is a key point, with the ability to run promotions, therefore driving volumes, which is where we need to be. We have lower running costs than the traditional export wholesalers. And the other thing is that we're doing that nobody actually has done or is doing worldwide, very sadly, for British food and drink, is actually positioning the British offer. Great Britain leading food and drink is a claim that, in fact, leading food and drink innovation is a claim that, in fact, covers practically all products in all categories. It's the only thing that we could think of that actually holds all these products together under the umbrella, because we are talking about Britain and the Commonwealth, which is a very broad offer for buyers, which actually also makes it very attractive for them because they never know what to expect from us. The other big area here is B2B online retailing. The forecast is that online retailing, in other words, the space we're at in, B2B, in other words, e-wholesaling, is the entire industry sector is looking to reach double the size of B2C by 2020. I think that's probably ambitious. This is a Frost & Sullivan report. But to be perfectly honest, if it's going to be double that by 2025 even, it's a huge sector, phenomenally sized sector. In terms of the team, myself, founder, managing director, having run the food team for a number of years,
food team business within the British Polish Chamber, represent Agricultural and Horticultural Development Board. In an agency, a consultancy that I ran a number of years ago, we used to set up supply chains for the likes of Walmart, Asda, B&Q across Central and Eastern Europe. We also used to help a lot of companies enter the entire region. That was in all industry sectors, but we worked a fair bit in food and drink. And before that, I used to run Ogilvy and May, the advertising group in Poland, so sort of at the sharp end of marketing communications. Agnieszka Shifter, who's head of operations with an engineering degree, it's the sort of person that we need in terms of all the detail in building this platform and making sure all the processes run correctly from also a usability point of view, a customer usability point of view. So we worked together for a number of years delivering these projects within the food team at the Chamber. She also has a similar background in terms of communications with top communications companies. Justina, who is in charge of content and at the moment supplier relations as well. Great experience in terms of web content management for major international companies. So she's very good in terms of the website and the content management on that website and the delivery of that, working together with our IT company. Simon Ray, who joined us very recently, is at the moment, his role is working in the UK with new suppliers. He's got a huge amount of experience within the UK food and drink industry, and he'll be bringing on and managing sort of new suppliers as they come on the platform in various categories. Russell Tolson, who up until recently was the trade director of the British Polish Chamber of Commerce, helping British exporters into the market, has over 30 years in the food manufacturing industry, so he fully understands what we're trying to do, and particularly the logistics side. He's our logistics advisor. He joined me on the trip last week to our warehouse and fulfillment partners in the UK. And Jens Christensen, who helped develop the commercial model, particularly the forecasting, he's a financial director at the largest supplier of water and coffee in Poland. In fact, I think it's the largest supplier in Europe in terms of a group, Eden Springs. So he also is at the sharp end of product sales, warehousing, logistics, the cost involved with that, and how to manage that sort of modeling. On the investment side, we are live right now on Crowdcube. We went live this week. Crowdcube is a platform, as most of you are aware. We're looking to raise £200,000, giving away 20% equity for that, and we have a cap at raising 320. We've got just under 30 days to do that. In terms of the sort of valuation, this valuation is relevant, or relative rather, to other valuations on Crowdcube of other businesses, so it's actually not dissimilar to the way other businesses are valued. We actually had a valuation report done by a company who takes various valuation methods that are used by investors around the world, and in fact the top 5 valuation methods, and based on all the information available on EMIXIT, where we are in terms of the business, what we've done so far, etc., doing a weighted valuation using all these techniques, that came out at £1.5 million. So we feel that the valuation that we're at is pretty fair. We are aiming to deliver at least 25% return on investment compound annually over the years, and exit within 5 to 6 years. And really, in my own mind, I'm not going to want to let the business go for anything under £6 million in 6 years' time, which would give basically 6 times return on investment for anybody who invests now. We believe it's absolutely doable where we are with British products, where we are with the EU, and actually beyond the EU as well. So as e-commerce platforms, we see that this is really where it's now going, and I think not only from B2B but B2C, there are constant casualties in retailing, traditional retailing and wholesaling, even in the UK, just in the last 3 months. You know, many of you are aware of some of the casualties in wholesaling and retailing. So, and a lot of it is probably attributable to the development of online. The use of funds, £200,000, is broken down here in terms of operationally, percentage-wise, according to different areas. I mean, marketing and sales is a huge part of it. Obviously, we'll be growing, you know, the staffing, etc., and working capital. In terms of debtors, I mean, debtors we aim to have absolutely limited, but there will always be a certain amount of debtors that we'll be managing really according to insurance, trade insurance that we can get. So it will really only be with the larger players that we will be offering that. So here, and I'll make this presentation available to you all afterwards. You can literally click on this and go straight through to Crowdcube, which is live as we speak. And here's just a short video. I'm not going to play it now. The video's on the Crowdcube platform for everybody to see. So this brings me to the end of the presentation. I think it's a little bit longer than planned. Hopefully you haven't been bored. Thank you for attending. And this has been our slogan for the last 3 or 4 years. Not only fish and chips. When we meet with buyers, to be perfectly honest, we still have to actually present that, because they still don't really know what the British offer is, which is also very exciting in many respects. So if there are any questions, please fire away. I'll try and cover them quickly as possible, also not to keep this webinar running too much longer. So hopefully you've got a function there that you can ask questions if you wish. Right, we've got no questions. I wonder if that means that was actually really clear. I hope so. We'll just wait another minute or so for questions. If not, then I will be wishing you a very pleasant Friday afternoon and hopefully a gorgeous weekend. Right, no questions. Well, on that note, thank you very much once again. I'll get this presentation off to you, and then afterwards, if there are any questions individually, please feel free to fire away. Thank you very much.